So I've lived and worked in red states for most of my entire life. I always found it interesting that a majority of the people that I worked with, particularly in manufacturing, would constantly complain about their rate of pay. Constantly were bitching that they couldn't make ends meet. And they were always complaining that their health insurance was so expensive, their rents were so expensive, and they never made enough money to ever make it, to be able to live a life, just free of a little bit of friggin' stress, right? Because we all want that. Nobody wants to be stressed out constantly. And these people would be so angry all the time that they were living paycheck to paycheck. And the worst thing about that is that all of them would vote red no matter what, whether it was for president or whether it was for their local senators, their local representatives. It didn't make a difference. They would vote for people who had an R after their name, never realizing that they were voting against their own interest. It's interesting that these people in their everyday life just can't put two and two together. They don't understand that it's not the Republicans who are fighting for higher wages. It never has been. You see, the Republican Party stands for lower wages. They want businesses to be able to come in, and they want less regulation so that businesses can cut the red tape, which sounds really great. Sounds awesome that it makes it easier for businesses. But they do all these things in order to make it easier for CEOs and for corporations. They don't make changes to make it easier for the worker. And that is one of the big benefits for these companies that move to red states, is that they know they can get the cheap labor. They know that they don't have to pay a lot. So they get all of these tax breaks on top of not having to pay a living wage. And these same people, because they are so into identity politics and their whole being is wrapped up into being a Republican, they will vote against their own interests every single damn time, just because they think that's the way it's supposed to be. That an employer should be allowed to pay you as little as they want, that your CEOs should be able to make as much as they want. And you know what? That's just not the case. You're the one that's doing the work. You're the one that's taking all of this time away from your family, taking all of this time out of your life, who is putting your body in harm's way through decades of hard labor and not getting your fair share. But yet they will vote against their own interests because of identity politics. And it's always interesting to me that they will defend these billionaires, they will defend these CEOs. But I want you to think about this for a second. Here's something that I always find very interesting. You'll go into an employer, you go into a job, and it's funny that they always have a cap, what you can possibly make an hour, a limit, an upper level, but they never have that same thing for the CEOs. You see, you're capped out at what you can make for your labor, for your life, but they're never capped out. And so you don't get an opportunity to ever really advance to a living wage, to advance to earn enough to take care of yourself, because you're already capped out. And these companies, they work together. They know what the average pay is in any city or town or state. And they work together to make sure they keep that ceiling as low as possible. They go on Indeed, they go on Craigslist, all these other job places. They know what everybody else is paying. And so they work together to make sure that that wage does not come up and up. Because they know damn well that if an employer came in and started paying living wages, everybody would go to that company. That just makes sense, especially if you're a worker and you're living paycheck to paycheck. But no, these companies, they work together, they look at the average wages, and they do their best to keep them right at the bottom, as low as they can, so that their bottom line increases. But yeah, identity politics, man. I've lived and worked beside these people and listened to them complain month after month, year after year. The raises aren't big enough, the wage isn't big enough, the insurance sucks, they can't afford insurance, they can't buy groceries, all of these things. The annual reviews are only giving them 25 cents an hour, sometimes 15 cents an hour. They bitch and complain constantly about the way the system is, and they continuously vote in favor of the same system that continuously brings them down. And so nothing will ever change. So in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, they will still be complaining that they're living paycheck to paycheck and can't make it.